Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon to the and welcome you to the second session of day one of the DST Government of India sponsored faculty development program on entrepreneurship development. This session, I decided to take it myself because of certain reason. I thought 6 months back when the entire world was suffering from the greatest menace of the century, the COVID-19 pandemic, I wrote an application to host faculty development program on entrepreneurship development to DST Government of India. Now, why? It's not primarily because I am handling or heading the incubation unit of Adamas University, but because I felt thousands of people who are losing their jobs and millions of people who are expecting to get a job, there is a difference. And me, as a faculty, what am I request the participants to kindly mute. And as a faculty, what would be my role that the next generation, the students, do not face similar problem in their life? So while analyzing such, the greatest thing that I faced or the thing which I came up with is the unawareness of this domain of entrepreneurship among the faculty members. If we are not aware of the scenario, if we are not aware of why entrepreneurship is required, if we only restrict ourselves to the domain of our intellectual capital, to the domain of our study, research, then are we able to give our students a good future? Be it IIT, be it IIM, be it any educational institution of the country. When a student starts his journey as a first year student of undergraduate or postgraduate course, what he aspires? He always aspires to know, to gain knowledge, to gain skill, and to develop a future to earn his own livelihood. There comes the problem. The person, the same student, very enthusiastic. When he reaches the final year, his motto becomes finding a job. And the saddest part of the story is this finding a job remains unsuccessful to the most of the students, while a mere handful find a suitable job and settle down in their career. So what about the rest? Are we catering to only 1 to 2% of the students? Maybe who are the front benchers to go for higher academic degree, maybe BSc to MSc, maybe undergraduate to postgraduate, postgraduate to research degree, PhD to postdoc? Or are we catering to the entire class of ours, entire student community who deserves a better place to live in, who deserves to earn their livelihood, and that should be based on the education that they are getting in their colleges and universities. So that haunts me the most. And one of the reasons where I felt that before I reach out to the students, before I reach out to the society, the mentors, the faculty members need to be made aware. They need to be trained on entrepreneurship development, on startup ecosystem, startup culture, so that our next generation do not only depend on getting a job. They don't become job seekers. They also become job givers. So with this little introduction to what and how I ended up in getting this sanction of faculty development program on entrepreneurship development from Government of India, I would take a few minutes and I will start the presentation. I request the participants to kindly mute yourself. Hello, everyone. I welcome you to the Faculty Development Program, the second session of day one. The topic that I will be dealing now is idea to enterprise, creation of mindset for the educators. As I already said, that it is important for every person in the academic domain or non-academic domain to have a financial independence. Now, in order to give that, what we primarily rely on is a job. Now, we are in the field of academics, doing a job or a service for that matter. There are a huge number of people who want a job, but can we provide everyone with a job? The answer is no. And if we cannot provide everyone with a job, what is the alternative available to us? The alternative, the only suitable alternative that we can think of in present day is entrepreneurship. And these entrepreneurs of today are going to become MNCs of tomorrow. The entrepreneurs, the startup companies of today are going to become big enterprise. So the first thing that is required is to create a proper mindset for the educators before we reach out to the student and before we try to serve the society in terms of job or enterprise. That is why the title of the talk is Idea to Enterprise, Creating Mindset for the Educators. Now, this is a brief overview of how the journey of FDP is going to be for you. It is going to start with creating the mindset for educators, in which Professor Shubhranshu Sanyal has excellently dealt and depicted the importance of entrepreneurship and various other factors in the first inaugural session. In the coming sessions, as you can find from the flyer that we have circulated or the program schedule, those will be helping you in developing the skill set to act. It is not only required that you have a correct mindset, you feel that yes, entrepreneurship is required. You also need to act on it. You need to develop certain skills so that you can groom enterprise as very well depicted as those do and don'ts in the first session by Professor Sanyal. So from trainer, we have to convert ourselves to become facilitator. And in this journey, we have to convince our students. We have to act in front of our students in such a way that they are aware of this beautiful domain of enterprise creation. And now, if we are skilled at speaking on entrepreneurship, we are skilled at doing entrepreneurship, Is it enough? The answer is again no, because we have to prepare an ecosystem to develop. We will require financial institutions, we will require academic institutions, we will require self-help groups, we will require the help of MSME sector, we will require the help of IPR sector, we require the help of management, marketing, media, law, and all the collaborative technical domains which will help us in the journey of enterprise creation. And only when these 3 steps are successful, we can reach to the benefit to the students or society. Therefore, the entire FDP is placed on these 3 aspects: the creating of the mindset for the educators, developing skill set so that we can act, preparing ecosystem to develop where we will be hand-holding with you in whatever capability we have, in whatever capacity it is possible. These members attending the FDP is just a common platform so that we can share our ideas, so that we can enrich ourselves with what we don't know, so that we adopt the best practices, and then only the benefit will reach to the students and society. So my today's talk will be divided into these 6 sections. First, redefining success, the academic tool for becoming successful, job seeker to job creator, role of business incubators, COVID-19, the opportunities amidst pandemic, and finally, attitude over aptitude. With these 6 units, with these 6 thought sharing process, I will try to put forward my view, and I would always expect you to interrupt me and speak wherever you feel that something has to be contributed, something has to be supplemented. So this is not a session where I am delivering my talk. This is a session where I am one of the facilitators who is initiating a scope for discussion, and you all have the right, just like, not like the student, but you all have the right to interrupt me, to introspect, to comment, and take the discussion forward, so that at the end of our journey of 1.5 hours, our mindset, the mindset of the educators, that is the mindset of the faculty members, are prepared that we want this to happen, and we will implement it to the best of our possibility, with all hand-holding, with all collaboration, with all effort from our end. And then only the success of the FDP will be counted. It is not the number of participants, it's not the number of institutions participating, or it is even not the certificate that carries the benefit of it. How many lives we can impact, that creates a more of a platform through this FDP. So coming to the redefining success. How many of you want to be successful in life? I normally ask this question to the students. So let me take this opportunity to ask this same question to my faculty colleagues. Can I get a response?
Sir, I think everyone would like to be successful.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. In one word, what Anil sir said is absolute answer for anywhere you go, whomever you ask, they will say, we want to be successful. But the second question is just opposite. You ask this question, you will never get a definite answer, is that how many of you have an idea to be successful? So there is no doubt in our willingness to become successful. There is no doubt that we all want to be successful, whoever we are, whatever domain we belong to, whatever strata of the society we belong to. But when it comes to the question, how many of us have an idea to be successful, then we all take a pause. We all take a pause. Yeah.
Sir, I would like to add something, that the definition of success is different for different people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what you think is success may not be the same for others.
Absolutely. So that is why my previous question was, how many of you want to be successful? It's not me telling you to be successful. So a person, maybe he's earning 500 rupees a day or 5,000 rupees a month, can consider himself successful if he has an idea what he is doing, if he contemporaries to the thing that, okay, what I want to do, I have achieved. So it's not about money, it's not about status, it's not about position. It's about what idea you possess and how you define success in your life. But normally when a question is asked about saying about the ideas of successful, these are the common ideas that comes. They are growth, finance, time, plan, education, job, future strategy, development, motivation, solution, target, planning, and whatnot. So these are common things which tells us that, okay, this is success. Maybe job is a success. Maybe the strategy I use in my life is success. Maybe the money I collect in my life is success. Maybe if I can live a well-planned life, that's a success. Maybe if I can give a proper solution to a problem, that is my success. Maybe if I can reach the target, what I set for myself is a success. But today, let us try to redefine success in a more critical way, which is more often applicable for entrepreneurship related work, which is more applicable for our students. If I say that success is when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then I will call you successful. So successful in this word means until you have a passion to do it to the fullest of your potential, you cannot be successful. So this is another way of depicting success. Definitely everyone should not agree to it, but catch the idea behind this. When you cannot breathe, the only thing you want in life is to breathe. You want oxygen in your life. It's not your property. It's not your bank balance. It's not the status. If someone stops you from breathing, the only thing you require in the life is air. Similarly, in order to become successful, whatever you want, if it is as important as your air you breathe, then only you can reach success. A very easy mantra of success is given at the bottom. Idea plus dream plus do equal to success. Now, if I translate this to a routine classroom that we have students who have great idea. We have students who dream very high. We have extremely hardworking students. But as a faculty, we often make a mistake in calling all three of them individually as successful people. We call a person having great ideas, okay, you will be successful. No, we speak of dreams. APJ Abdul Kalam said the dream is something which will not let you
okay,
sleep.
Students,
so that is not only success.
I will send you the video by email.
I would request you to please,
you just work on these.
Mute.
You just work on these kind.
So success can only be reached when you have an idea plus dream plus you do it. Now believe me, whether you go to your colleagues, whether you go to your subordinates, superior or students, you will find excellent ideators, excellent dreamers and excellent doers, but they cannot reach success, at least in terms of enterprise development, until all the three components are added together. It's not idea slash dream slash do. It's idea plus dream plus do. That will make you successful. So successful people speak of more ideas and unsuccessful people talk about people. So I would request all my faculty colleagues to judge the potential among your students to become successful in all the three parameters, which we seldom do in our routine academic system. In our routine academic system, examination is the only yardstick. Attendance is the only yardstick that we do to judge success of a student. And we judge them good student or now a better polished words, fast learners and slow learners. But it's not about how fast you learn, or it's not about how slow you learn. It's about, do you have an idea what you want to do? Do you dream of reaching to the pinnacle of the idea that can take you? And do you work on it? And that determines the success, especially in terms of enterprise development. Let me come to the story of a shoe company, the manager and an employee. As excellently said by Professor Shannal, that your boss is always correct. We all are in this assumption. We all always say that my boss has said this, so it has to be correct. Compromising to the level of intellect we possess in whatever position we are in. Let me tell you a small story in this context. Once there was a manager of a shoe company who was transferred to a remote country, to a place where people never used to wear shoes. So he went there and he saw all the people are barefooted. None of them are wearing a shoe. And he became so demotivated, saying that, oh my God, where will I sell a shoe? None of them are wearing it. So he came back to the head office and said, I don't want a promotion in that area. Keep me as a manager and send someone else. And who is the someone else? That is the subordinate employee whom you don't like, whom you don't like to promote, who is your competitor, or whom you don't want that he should get a success. So you send that employee to that place where no one is wearing a shoe. The employee goes there, the employee who was underperforming, the employee who is your subordinate, he goes to the place and sees all the people barefooted. He comes back to the head office and says, sir, thank you very much for giving me immense opportunity. Since none of them are wearing shoe, I can sell 100% of the shoes to my customers. So that is the attitude difference between a manager and an employee. The manager was not wrong. When there is no customer, how can you sell a product? That is always taught in a book. But when there is no customer, can you make customer? Can you convert it into an opportunity? That was the look, or that was the vision of the employee who was a subordinate to the manager. Similar to this, we have students in the class. Maybe not the best, maybe not the most communicative one, maybe not a very hardworking one, but he has the idea. How much time do we spare in listening to the vague ideas of our students? As a faculty member, I would urge you to please take out some of your time in speaking with the people whom you call eccentric, whom you call mad, whom you call you do not have intellect, because the intellect they possess may not be in the form that we want, may not be in the form that we can anticipate, but that can transform the society. So the first and foremost principle, what I follow and I would like and urge and request you to follow in order to create enterprise, in order to give the skill to everyone, make everyone feel they are special. The biggest companies are not created by the toppers of the university. Often they are created by the dropouts. The reason is there was no one to listen to them. So they thought that let me create it and show the world. So that is what I would like to reflect. Now coming to this, what is the academic tool to becoming successful? Now we are not preachers. We are not politicians. We only have a plethora of students, a bunch of students in our class to have an impact on society and the next generation. But believe me, all 50 faculty members present here, we have 100 students. So these 5,000 students can, of the future generation, if 2 entrepreneurs come up with a beautiful company, if 2 of them become successful, the entire world will pay a due to you. The entire world will acknowledge the reflection to the teachers. So never feel that how much potential do I have? How much potential do we have to change the future? Even if one enterprise is created out of your institution, even if one entrepreneurship is created based on your mentorship, that has the chance of transforming the country. Imagine a Tata coming up from your organization. Imagine Ambani or Birla or whatever you name. Imagine an NGO coming out from your organization. That is highly possible, and it is only possible when we have the belief that this may happen. Though the possibility is rare, the least possibility is what I said, but we need to have a belief that that can happen, and we will have a contribution to it. Now, the pillars of academic path of becoming successful. Now, let me narrow down my talk towards academic success. We all mean academic success by getting a degree. We all mean academic success by getting a job, and the job is quantified based on the CTC we earn at the end of the year. Even if we go further, it goes whether we are getting into a research degree or not. What is the publication? What is the citation? And all. So the pillar of academic path or academic way of success can be convergent into research, innovation, and incubation. A proper hand-holding of these three can lead towards being successful from an academic environment, for that matter. We don't have much of hand in changing the policy of the government. We don't have much of hand in deciding whom to teach and whom not to. We don't have much of hand in what to teach and what not to. But we definitely have some option left for us in deciding these three components intertwined with one another: research, innovation, and incubation. But if I be very honest in saying these three components, I know that only one is familiar to everyone, that is research. We all are familiar with research, but believe me, we are not familiar with research. We are familiar with two things. One is research project, one is PhD and paper. PhD, research paper, and research projects do not reflect research. A research is your inquisitiveness. A research is something which will want you to find out. You will not stop until you get an answer to it, and that is research. And all the three that is a research publication, that is a research project. All these are byproduct of the research, and we are so much happy with the byproduct of research. We fail to understand the flavor of research. We fail to enjoy research, and our research ends in just
100%,
becoming
100%
research, in publishing research articles, or getting them cited, or giving more publications for that matter. I would request the participants to kindly put yourself on mute.
Saptarshi sir, I have one question.
Sure.
Is it right to think that a researcher or a teacher should have all these three properties of doing research and incubation as well as commercializing the product? Because many a times a academician is good in research and innovation, but he may not be good in commercializing or may not be having that commercial mindset. So is it good to expect everything from a teacher?
Thank you, sir. I still can hear very noise. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. Absolutely correct. Now, the orientation that we have been going on, the way we are oriented in research is how our research supervisor treated us or what we have seen. So imagine today, someone is willing to do a research on the vaccine of COVID-19. And someone is interested in learning something, some diversity. Now, which one would you prefer as a judge to that research, to be giving grant? You will find, okay, that is also important. But the need of the hour is research on COVID-19 because we desperately require a vaccine. Similarly, we cannot expect a researcher to know all three aspects, but we have to be oriented. We have to know, we have to believe that the research we are doing must have some innovative component. And if we have an innovative component, can we create an enterprise with help of incubation? May not be individually. Can we have a support system ready with our peer alike? Can we have the intention? I always say, my postdoctoral research work was a little bit on anti-cancer compound. I always say the number of anti-cancer compound is 1,000 times more than the number of cancer patients in the world. It is because we never think of commercializing it. We never think that whether it is foolproof. Research is a priority. There should be an innovative component of the research. But again, when it comes to commercialization and incubation, you may not be doing it yourself. You can have your support system ready. But that inclination in your mind, that a business aspect of it, wherever possible, definitely not with fundamental research. But if everyone votes for fundamental research, then where is the output? Have we created anything significant in the last 10 years in terms of fundamental research? We have to ask the question. And if not, yes, India has created, but in bits and pieces. So if not, what about application research? Yes, there has been huge number of papers being published on research application, but they have never seen the light of the society because they have never come through the incubation process. They have never been taken through the incubation process, which you may not be familiar with, but your system must have and must include this component in order to become successful.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. When we go for project presentations, definitely those projects which have application, which has got application, they get grants. And the fundamental research generally doesn't get good grants. But that is actually the basic problem that we are having here in our country, that basic research is not being focused, and we are always taking technology from other countries and just commercializing it. So even if you see, you were talking about this COVID vaccine project. The vaccine project is being, whatever we have done, developed, is done by actually big pharma companies. And those are run by actually people who are not scientists. Okay, so that is what I was saying, that some people, they are very good in economics and commercialization things, and others are good in research. And many a times these commercial people, they actually employ these scientists and they develop. So whenever we are talking about these type of startup or entrepreneurship programs, there also we should have a collaboration where ideas in which students are doing research or researchers are working, they should be looked upon by these people who are good in commercialization, and then those projects should be picked up and they should be brought to the society or commercial scale.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Now, that was the concern, I feel, out of context. I would just say, comment a few personal thought of mine. If a pharmaceutical company can employ a person who is trained in India and can get a vaccine created, why don't the vaccine come up from an academic institution? That's the greatest question and query I have with myself. If a same investment can give you a vaccine which is marketed by a multinational company, why don't we have so many universities, IITs, IIMs, everyone? Can't we collaborate and come up with this? Can't we serve our society in a better scientific way? So that is the challenge. So that will only be possible when we have it in our mind that it is not only research, we need to do research, we need to have an innovative component, and we need to try to commercialize it so that our work will be validated. If I prepare a vaccine and the vaccine doesn't work, it's not wonderful in the lab, then I should be termed as unsuccessful. I should not be criticized. I tried my best, I'm unsuccessful. So unsuccessfulness should be celebrated. That is one of the major thing we have to do. If you fail, I never find any research paper to say that, okay, I started with this hypothesis and I failed. So does it require all ideas to be successful? The answer is not. Mute everyone. So, now coming to the toolbox for success, these are just points to find out how much we are in the place to find out people, to find out students who are innovative or who has the capacity to use or to become entrepreneurs. Challenge yourself. Think out of your comfort zone. This is the first thing we need to adopt for students. We need to ask students to evolve. Even I know biologically evolution is a long time process, but there has been a tremendous evolution. This time we could have organized a physical faculty development program, but we all of us are working it digitally. So that is an evolution that happened in the last 1 year. We cannot compromise on the content. We cannot compromise on our work for the society. So we converted ourselves into a digital mode. So are our students ready to evolve? Speak out your idea. How many times do we indulge, do we accept our students to speak out their idea, not a reflection of our idea? That's why I said I expect everyone to interrupt me, speak out their idea, because it is very important. It is not a monologue that we want in the class. It's not preaching that I am doing for my knowledge. It is what collectively we can come out with. Do not copy. Adopt best practices. There is no shame in adopting best practices. We can always share and care. We can always share that we are doing, and we can always take help for others and adopt the best practices to our requirement. So these things are the toolbox which can help us to identify students who are having entrepreneurial skills, who are innovative, and believe me, they are not going to come from the routine examination system that we are following in judging a student. The regular yardstick of marks will never give you an answer to the question who is having a research aptitude, who is innovative, or who can create an enterprise. So this touch, this toolbox is very, very essential.
One more thing that I was trying to ask, that the fear of failure is the biggest problem when a student is taking up the startup. For example, in the first lecture, sir also told that he started with 3 ventures, but none of the 3 were successful. Okay, so when a student is in his higher studies, like when he is doing his say MSc or PhD degrees, if he starts with a startup and if it doesn't end well, then the big problem comes that he will be left with no other options, because he has spent a lot of time.
Anil sir, please unmute yourself. I have just muted all the participants.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir. I was telling that the fear of failure is the biggest problem. The students are fearing of failure. They want a secure type of job. Even the sir who was giving the first presentation, he had told that he started with 3 ventures and none of them was successful. Okay, so when a student who is in his higher education, he is doing his MSc, and after that, if he starts a company and it fails after say 2 or 5 years, then he will be left with no other options. That is why probably students prefer to get a job and have a secure type of life. So how can we change the mindset which is pre-existing in the students as well as their parents?
Yeah, sir, I feel that first we need to change our mindset and we need to celebrate failure. Can I have all my faculty colleagues, all my 42 people present here, go to their next class and describe in the board with a presentation to their students where all they failed in their life. It may be a failure in maths in 10th level. It may be failure in getting cleared net exam. It may be failure in any research paper getting not accepted. It may be a failure in laboratory experiment. Now, we all have a habit. It's not our fault. It's the scenario we are grown up. We all have a habit of covering up our failures. There are no people in the world who has not failed more than once. Actually, we fail more times and we succeed in less times. But believe me, when we come to the podium, we always glorify our success and we do not unbox our failure. So can we have all the 42 people, can we commit to ourselves the next time or to go to the class, we will speak on our failure. And believe me, if students know that, okay, this is my teacher, this is my facilitator who has failed and still has come up to this position, I also can fail. There is no harm in failing. Can we celebrate failure? Once you have not got the result, can you have a group meeting of your research scholars and say, dear all, today we have failed in our concept. But we seldom do it. So let us start it from ourselves. Then let us go to the students and let us devise a mechanism, let us devise a policy so that their failure can be transformed into success. I'll give you a small example. Recently, a big company, I'm not naming the company, a big company was hiring 4 people. And all the people were from top institutes of India. Now, among them, 2 were toppers from those institutes and 2 were bottom rankers from those institutes. And one of them was a failure in enterprise creation. He started his enterprise. Within 2 years, he went bankrupt. He had a big loan in his name. He had to work for some other company. And then somehow he managed. You know, which person was selected? The 4th one, who is a bottom ranker and who failed. Because it is not that you are not judged when you are successful. When you are successful, you have everyone to pat your back. You have everyone in support of you. But when you test the failure, you know how to struggle. You know how to overcome the situation psychologically. You know how to overcome the situation technologically. You know how to overcome the situation socially. And that is why that person was selected. So failure in an enterprise does not mean failure in career, failure to become successful in life. We all have heard that failure is a pillar of success, but we have only heard it. We never listened. We never used it in our life. We never celebrated failure. We always celebrated our success. So from today, can we take a resolution of celebrating our failure, in discussing our failure, whatever it is, and then let this be percolated down to the student. Let them understand failure is obvious. Success is sometimes what you achieve. Now, coming to the research, innovation, and incubation, how they are related in the academic system, it all starts with an idea. Every day evening when we are having a cup of coffee in a leisure mood, we have ideas. Ideas to change the society, ideas to change the political system. Am I audible? Okay.
Ideas. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. All sorts of ideas we carry in the evening. And as we sleep and get up in the next morning, all the ideas are faded away. Now, why? Because we feel our ideas will be stolen. We feel we have idea, but why to tell? Why do I speak?
Hello. Hello. Sir, could not listening anything. Sir, you are not audible to me. Not audible and not visible also. Not audible, sir. Not audible and not visible.
I think there is some technical issue. Sir is trying to reconnect. He will join us in a moment.
Sorry for the interruption. There was some technical glitch, a network issue. So I was just discussing about the requirement of presenting our ideas. Because if we do not present our idea, if we do not give everyone a scope to present their idea, it is of no use. No one will come to know, no one will criticize. So the next part is what we do in our lab, what we do in our system is a research and validation. A research is not only a fact-finding thing. A research is to validate whatever we are thinking, how much we are doing. So normally in an academic system, these three steps are very well performed. Idea, presenting of idea, and research validation. But the next part of it is innovation component. Whatever we are doing, is it a routine work or is it innovative? So if I ask a question, this FDP is a routine work or is it innovative? Most of you would
Sir, again the same problem. Could not listen anything.
Sorry for the interruption. So we all are proud of our intellect. We all are very possessive about our property. Now, when it comes to intellectual property, you will see that from any academic or research institution, it is not even 1% of the amount of research papers that we produce. So what does it mean? We are doing research, we are doing something unique, we are reporting our novel thoughts, we are reporting our novel work towards the world, and it is getting well accepted. But are we able to transform that into some product? Are we able to transform that into some form where it can make money, and making money is not for that person, it's for the society. So this is a point, this is a component where we are lacking. Finally, coming to the business incubation. As I said, that in this platform of FDP, we are trying to handhold with all of you, whoever is having a business incubation unit, whoever doesn't have, who wants to collaborate, who wants to get some expertise, who wants to be trained in all possible way, can we handhold each other? Because ideally, for every institution, it is not possible to have a business incubation unit. But all the ideas that are generated from the students, from the faculty members, which are presented to the world, where we are doing research, where there is an innovative component, requires a business aspect of it. And finally, then only we will reach to a level of success. And we need to tell our students that success does not end at the research end. Success does not end when you get your research paper published. So we should not keep them awakened till the halfway, and the other half is completely under the cloth. No one knows about it. So this is the entire cycle, and this is a one-way cycle where I can say directly coming from an idea to success is a roadblock, which is never possible. So let us take an oath to teach our students the entire path. But what we normally do is we take ideas, or we have ideas, we present it to the society, or we present it to the learned community, we do a research, we validate the idea, and then we enjoy that. So the rest of the component, the intellectual property right of the innovative component of our idea, the transformation of that idea into a business, into a money-making aspect, remains not done. And that is why most of the ideas do not generate money for the inventor, for the innovator, for the people working on it, and to the society. And we always look back or look forward to the government to give us fund. We always look forward others to give us some money so that we can do something. So how beautiful the road is, but it is curvy. So this means a beautiful road can curvy as well, but we need to enjoy the beauty of it. Sometimes it will be very struggling to go up. Sometimes it will be very easy to slide down. But if we need to enjoy our life, we need to let them know, let our students be aware of the entire cycle. The next part of the presentation is on job seeker to job creator, need of the hour. Even if we speak on entrepreneurship, this is not going to affect until we are convinced that we need to create job creators and not only job seekers. So how many of us want our student to get a job, and this is how our student raise their hand? I have a PhD, I have a BTech, MTech, MPharm, MA, LLB, so many and so more. But this is how the job givers look at their hand, all in the dark gray shade. You know why? Why there is lack of job? It is because, again, coming to the fundamental thing that I discussed in the beginning, what matters is knowledge plus skill plus attitude. A person with great knowledge and skill, but with wrong attitude is a misfit to our society. A person with great knowledge and attitude without a skill is a misfit to the society. A person with great skill and aptitude without a knowledge is a misfit to the society. So we need to find out, we need to know that are we inculcating these three components, knowledge, skill, and attitude together in a student. I would take a pause here and I would seek opinion from all the faculty members present here. Do you think we are catering to all three components equally, or do you think that we are only focusing more of knowledge, a little bit of skill, and zeroing out or a very little about the attitude? Yes, I would now let the platform open for a couple of minutes for you to deliberate on this.
Saptarshi sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, definitely. We are focusing on knowledge and skill, but the attitude we are lacking. This is what I think.
Thank you, sir. Can I get some opinion from others present?
So can I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, sir, you were telling about the success story and how the path is so long to get a success until and unless. But does success need the final recognition? Or all the success are recognized? Do you think so? Every time success is recognized?
Thank you for the, yeah.
Yes.
See, recognition is an external factor, what others think of you, and success is an internal factor, what you think you have done. So your success may not be recognized by others. So it is more important that you feel the completeness of a success. That is more important. According to me, others can differently comment or contradict, but I feel recognition is something while others are aware of my success or not, but it does not have any hold on my success. My success is what I know about myself, what I am doing, and how confident and how complacent I am about the work I have done.
Okay, sir. So when I teach my students, until and unless they recognize the chapters or they told me that everything is clear to them, I don't think that I am successful in my teaching. So is it the idea so clear to success or not? Am I successful to my students or not? Is it that idea, or you are telling something else other than that?
As a teacher, until everyone gets what we want, we are unsuccessful. So a teacher can never be successful. That's what I believe. We can try to become successful. So success would be, in terms of a teacher, success would be more of a perfection that we try to attain, but we will never be able to attain. Even if you want all the students to learn something in the best of their capability, everyone may not. But I would intervene a small story in this, a story of a starfish. One day, a little boy was going through the seashore, and where he saw plenty of starfish lying there. They have come with the high tide and they got stuck there. So what he did was he was picking one by one a starfish and he was throwing it in the sea. And the starfish, when it is thrown to the sea, it will survive. Otherwise, they will die. Yes. So a man was passing by and he told that, my dear, there are millions of starfish in the seashore. How many lives can you save? So he said, I may not be having capacity to save the million lives, but this starfish I am having in my hand, I have thrown it, I have saved the life. And that is more of a role of a teacher, where we have to try to have an impact to as many as possible without thinking how many we have been successful. That is my personal opinion, and rest is up to everyone.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, some more hands are raised. If you can please unmute yourself and ask the question. or put your comments.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with you. You have actually pointed out that three aspects: knowledge, skill, and attitude. Actually, I teach in a degree college, general degree college. So I can tell that knowledge and skill is already imprinted in the curriculum or the course syllabus rather, but attitude is not there. So for a teacher, especially in our colleges where we teach in degree colleges, we get very little chance or very little time to actually manage the attitude of the students. We do for the senior class, mostly third year or rather like that. But actually, until and unless there is a change in the curriculum or structure, I don't think the students, mostly which we get, the first generation learners in the semi-urban areas, they don't understand the importance of attitude, and somehow we fail as a teacher to inculcate the right attitude within them.
Yeah, it's correct that our previous generation, people on the other side of the table who used to formulate the policies, failed to understand this. And that is why attitude has taken a backseat to knowledge, and now skill became so important that even knowledge has come to a backseat.
Yes,
but
right.
We need to understand that a proper amalgamation of all three is required. Absolutely. A person who is knowledgeable about creating a bomb and skilled at preparing that, if he has a wrong attitude, we can well be aware what he can bring to us. So similarly, a person who is very much skilled and attitude but doesn't know where to use it and how to use it, that is without a knowledge, again, is very dangerous. So now I think there is a scope for handholding. There is a scope for every one of us to inculcate the component that we want in our class. I said may not be at institutional level at the beginning. Now, I am very much fortunate to be a part of an institution which has given us a lot of freedom in this context.
Yes, sir.
Which has given us a stake in the policy making, which normally do not, until your hair, all the hairs are gray, you are not eligible to make a policy. That's what is well understood by everyone. But you made to believe that what we studied is 10 years back. What we are studying, research paper saying that is the most contemporary. 3 years back, the work has been completed. It was moving out for publication for the last 2 years. And our students are going to face the challenge after 10 years. So how can we prepare our student for the next 10 years that we have never seen? And that can never become from our experience. That can only come with our proper attitude. Because we need to find out that, okay, next generation requires this, so can I provide it today? My experience says we have never had a faculty development program on online mode, but we are having it. So if you would ask the same question 5 years back or 2 years, even they would laugh at you. But now it's a common thing. So these things must be understood. Try to get into the policy level of the institution. Try to handhold. Try to showcase what others are doing. Try to inculcate attitude, skill, and knowledge in your class. And you spend 5 minutes in class in discussing, in creating a proper and positive attitude for your student. Can you ask them to celebrate failure? What I mentioned quite often. Can you ask them that it does not matter what percentage you get, because I got less percentage and I am still here. Someone got less marks and still he is here. So it doesn't matter. So the motto of coming to a class should not be an attendance, should not be the only. We are no longer knowledge providers. Everything is available in the internet and in a better form than we know. So we are no more source of information. We are only facilitator who can create a proper attitude so that the students are able to learn by themselves. So this is a platform, let me tell you, where 100+ people have registered. Why they have registered? Because many of them registered because it's free. Many people registered because this would help them in their career. Many people registered because, okay, it's something good, let me listen. But there are only few people who registered that because you want to learn something to impact the student. So that is more important. So that attitude change will be there. That diversity will always be there in the class, among your colleagues, among any fraternity you go. But within that, we need to try to find out a line. We need to handhold with each other. We need to adopt best practices so that we can come to a conclusion that our students will get a better future than what struggle we are doing today. But the path seems to be very, very narrow and tough and difficult. Yes. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll proceed. Any more questions? We'll move to the next part. This is the ending. This is what we all see at the end of our degree program at our university. What is it? A queue of students who remain unemployed, a queue of students who feel that they have done enough good, but they are not capable of getting a job. And we very polite and polished way take them to the next level of education, as we mean that higher education or higher level of education has become a delayed route of employment. A person who only has the capacity to do undergraduate studies, a person who only requires an undergraduate level of studies has come to postgraduate level only because he has not got something in his undergraduate level, after his undergraduate level. A postgraduate student who always ambition to do a job has joined a PhD because there was no job after his post-graduation. So higher education has become a delayed employment. That's why the material, how many number of PhDs you produce, how many number of research papers are published, how much you do, the functionality, the uniqueness, the intelligence quotient never increases. And this is the saddest part when I see students at the end of their career standing with polished way, with their CV in their hand, waiting to get a job. And then this glimpse, unemployment highest since 2016. 2 million Indians reply to an ad for clerical job. 96,000 apply for 38 peon post. 42,000 for 64 clerical job. पांचवी पास के निकले भर्ती, MBA और PhD ने किया अप्लाई. This is a reality. How do we respond to a reality? How do we say that this is not education that we want you to provide, that we are providing to you? So at the end of the degree, most of the students are in this clarity of thought. They remain confused after completion of the degree, what to do, how to do, when to do, who will help me and all. Is it what we are teaching for? Is it what we are given responsibility of? Probably the answer is no. And there comes a role of entrepreneurship development. Why I took the first session, probably the second session of this FDP is because you will get insight of various topics related to entrepreneurship. But the first thing you need to convince yourself that this is required and I have a role to play. Until you feel that, okay, Sachin and Saurav Ganguly are playing in the field and I have only the role to clap, then you are not going to be changing the system, and you are not a part of system. You would remain a spectator. Whether the match is won, whether the match is lost, you have no role. And that is why we have to create job givers rather than job seekers. You have to say that hire me is not the word, we are hiring is the word. Now, whenever we say of business, the first thing comes to our mind is capital. Where we are getting the capital? The answer is our skill and knowledge can serve as a capital. Your attitude will help you to convert yourself from job seeker to job giver, and your capital would be your knowledge and skill. Now, what type of business are we speaking? We are not speaking about a business where you will buy things for 2 rupees and sell it for 3 rupees, making a profit of 1 rupee. No, we are not speaking of only transactional business. We are speaking of business which will add value. We are speaking of business which will have some innovative component and product. We are speaking of business which is having innovative or better service. Now, if you see all the 3 components, add value, innovative product, and better service, this is not only a business, this is actually how you are serving the society. So you can serve the society by teaching, you can serve the society by joining politics, you can serve the society by joining services, but you can also serve the society by becoming an entrepreneur, which is giving you money for livelihood, which will give money to all your employees for livelihood. But it is not only the money component that is important. You are serving with the help of product, with the help of service, with the help of value. So these all are the things we need to focus to our students. We need to tell, today we have studied so much, tell me what value you can add to the life of people. What innovative product can you dream? Can you think from the knowledge that you possess? Can you give any better service than what we are having now? So that is the pivotal importance. Innovation, it's not started, but was accelerated by the person called Thomas Alva Edison, who almost had 1,000 patents to his credit. But that's about scientific and intellectual capacity of a person. But if we come to the left and right side photograph of these 2 gentlemen, Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, if you carefully look at the word they're saying, bringing the world closer together, stay hungry, stay foolish, both of these words are not product, but they reflect an attitude. They reflect how they want to change the world. So that is the service they want to give it to us. Now, can you imagine a world without Facebook? What you dream is to get an Apple product. So is it just a product? No, it is the innovation component. It is the thought process. Maybe an engineer working in Apple, an engineer or software guy working in Facebook, he has a dedicated work. But think of the innovators. Think of these 2 gentlemen who started the venture. They never thought of product. They thought of how they can change or make the life of others better. So it starts with a message. It never starts with a aim, conclusion, methods, and result that we write in our practical record book. It all starts with a passion. Bring the world closer together. Stay hungry, stay foolish. So this passion needs to be inculcated, transferred to our next generation, to the students, to each and every student. And who can say tomorrow we'll have someone's picture placed beside these people? Because these people's teacher never thought that they will be great. So why don't we have the same belief in the system that if we are able to groom them, tomorrow we can have 3rd person who are our student placed along with these people. Now, a small thing to match. Can I have anyone raise their hand and tell me how this will be matched? I have 3 components, culture, business, and IT, and I have 3 states, Gujarat, Karnataka, and West Bengal. Yeah, anyone, please.
Sir, Gujarat for business, Karnataka for IT, West Bengal for culture.
Absolutely right.
Okay. Anyone who differs?
No,
Anyone who differs?
no, absolutely right. He says absolutely right.
So this is, which one is correct? Left or right?
Gujarat is for business.
Right, sir.
Right one. Right.
Right means my right.
Yeah. Now, even before I asked this question, how did I match it? That the left one is going to be wrong and the right one is going to be right? Because it is quite obvious. Have we thought of this? Why not Gujarat for culture, business and IT? Why not Karnataka for culture, business and IT? And why not West Bengal for culture, business and IT? Do you think Gujarat lacks a culture? Absolutely no. Do you think Gujarat lacks IT? No. Some may be more important. So that is the condition of our mind. We are always sticking to what we believe. So even I knew that no one is going to object to the right option that Gujarat is for business, Karnataka is for IT, and West Bengal is for culture. It is because our dimension of thinking is always based on assumptions. Even though we know that in West Bengal we have business, in West Bengal you have IT, and culture is always there. So why not this? So in our class, can we create some component? What will break the myth among students? This is just an example. Some people said that how can we inculcate attitude in the class? Can we inculcate this attitude that break the myth? Let us contribute. Let us think out of the box. Believe me, the fullest student that you think in the class will give you the best answer because he is not stigmatized. He doesn't go by the belief. And that is how this is a small exercise I planned for breaking the myth. And this is when people start asking you, business? Who will do? Why shall I do a business? I have done my PhD. How will I do a business? What business gives more profit? Tell me, where do I go and do a business? So, do we have the answer always? To be very honest, we don't have the answer. So, let us speak about the role of a business incubator in startup. Our role as a business incubator is convert an egg into a hen or a seed into a plant. You know, if I have a seed and I keep it in a plastic vial for 100 years, do you think you will ever get a fruit of it? No. So it requires a particular land, a fertile soil, it will require water, it will require nourishment, air and all. So that nourishment can be provided by the incubator in the form of nurturing idea, in the form of mentorship, in the form of technical support. Thus, TBI or business incubators can help in converting the seed into a plant. But believe me, identifying the seed or identifying the egg is the responsibility of the teacher in the class. This is a ready recon I've prepared. So when you go to the class in terms of entrepreneurship, try to find out who owns a business. Definitely find some people, at least they prepare cake and sell. You will definitely find some people who does an embroidery and sell, but you don't know who does what. You will definitely find some people who are running family business. You will definitely have some students who have an idea but don't know what to do. So they don't have a plan, but they have an idea. You will also get some people who don't have an idea, but you tell them, this is a business, you get profit, and they will put a life on it. More passion they will show rather than they put in preparing your assignment. So you have to identify this category in the class. You have to send them to the incubation. You have to nurture them so that they open an enterprise. Does not matter if they fail. And it is always good to fail before you pass. Before you complete your graduation and post-graduation, if you have an enterprise and you fail, it is well accepted, rather than completing your post-graduation and then thinking, okay, I have not got a job, let me try for an enterprise, let me try something new, and in trying something and failing back. This is more of a technical information, how an incubation center manages, how an incubation center nurtures idea. They conduct hackathon ideation event so that people can apply, they validate and come to an agreement in the pre-incubation form. They get mentorship, technical support and networking in the incubation form. And after that, they graduate out post-incubation. When they create their own company, they get mentorship, alumni support and networking from the incubation center. So this is more of a model I'm proposing, where in the last day, before we conclude the FDP, I am certainly sure that we will be able to help our students in the better way than we used to do before the start of FDP. Coming to another beautiful aspect of COVID-19. COVID-19 has given a lot of opportunity. Now, what are the assumptions? Most businesses are at loss. COVID-19 is not the right time to start a business. Jobs are the safest because you at least have a job and can do something. And competition is highest in the market. These four come up as the most important assumptions in terms of business at the time of COVID-19. Now, let me try to break the myth. Was any multinational company aware that COVID is going to come? No. I hope so. Was any big companies preparing sanitizer? What was the amount of production? Maybe a very, very, very little. Now, you also don't know the situation. A big company also doesn't know the situation. So that means you have got a new opportunity. Many people have lost their job because they were working. So now you have got a wonderful pool of experienced people who have lost their job, but they are experienced. So you can employ them. Easy to adopt by new generation of workers. Now the teachers who are aged faced a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenge in adopting to this digital mode of learning and teaching. But for young generation, they're doing it fine. You don't require a marketing guy to go here and there for promoting a product. A digital media with low expense is enough for marketing. Even the big competitors started afresh in this new normal. So whether it be a big company or a small company, you or a billionaire, everyone started afresh. Therefore, I would rather consider COVID-19 was an excellent opportunity for the startups. So we have to critically think on these lines. A true reflection, market growth of various companies has gone past 18%, 21%. Commercial value has been very high. Finally, and lastly, attitude over aptitude. These four gentlemen, as you can see in the presentation, are the most famous failure. But do you call them failures or winners in life? Whether it be Albert Einstein or Michael Jordan, everyone faced so many failures in life. Imagine Michael Jordan was cut from the school basketball team, and he's one of the superstars of basketball. Walt Disney was said that he is lacking imagination. Now, you cannot imagine. Can you imagine the most creative person of the century? One of them was said that you are lacking creativity. Steve Jobs was removed from his own company. So if you have never failed, you have never tried, please go to your students with this message. Please reach out to your students so that they don't fear failure. They start understanding success. Coming to the last part of the presentation, I would rather want it as a platform for discussion. That's why I've kept it open. Let my deliberation be just a platform of discussion, and let the 5 best practices be drawn from your side. What
Hello. Hello.
So, can we have your views on deciding the best practices or resolution for today's session? Please. I'd request everyone to try to put your comment, try to speak out in deciding the future of the next generation. I now leave the podium, the session open for discussion and your views.
Hello.
Sir, as you suggested, one of the best practices could be to discuss the failures or to celebrate the failures. That is a very good thing. We should also discuss. We always discuss about the success stories, but we never talk about failure. So that should be discussed.
And second
Can I
is
have other opinion? Thank you, sir, for your opinion.
Sir, can I talk?
Yes,
Can
sure.
Sir, actually, I'm a teacher in graduation college, and there are many graduate students who are doing their degrees, bachelor degrees. Most of them are more of job seekers. A few of them are going for higher studies or actually willing for higher studies. I think so. And when I taught them, they told me that But how can I find the students who are basically analytical in mind, but they think they are job seekers, but they do not be a job seeker. They can be a job giver. And how could in future they can be trained as? Actually, in my opinion, in knowledge, till now in West Bengal, I don't think it in India also. If I am wrong, please pardon me. There are no internship project which should be done or which is going to be done by the graduate students in graduation colleges. Most of the internship projects or summer trainings or industrial trainings for the research works are being given in the MSc students. So can it be done for the BSc students? So the students can be analyzed, find out that she can be groomed or groom up for the future. She can be a job giver. She or he can be a job giver, not job seeker. And she or he is in the wrong way of thinking. Can you specifically tell that?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, madam, for the question. First of all, identifying a person, a student in the class is the most challenging. The best way you can do it is by giving him a problem for which you yourself don't know the answer. Now, whenever we ask a question in the class, the entire class is an assumption that they are being tested. So when you are trying to test someone, he is always in a pressure to give the best answer that you may find or you may appreciate. But when you give them a question for which you yourself don't know the answer, then the student doesn't feel that he is being judged. He feels that he is a coordinating, he is a pure partner in that problem.
Yes.
So he feels that, okay, I am also facing the problem. Even my teacher, my sir or madam is also facing the problem. So what all can I do to get rid of this problem or to solve this problem? And the person who will have the most feasible solution can be called as an entrepreneur or is having an entrepreneurial skill. It's not the best solution, it's most feasible solution. Someone may theoretically give you a beautiful answer. We are having some network issue, get a server. Who will sponsor the server? Okay, so who can give you the most feasible solution to the problem, which can be marketed, which can be done, which is technologically possible, which is financially possible, and that person, whether he opens a company or doesn't matter, he has the entrepreneurial skill. Definitely, we would like to collaborate with you, your college or any organization for that matter in doing more such activities. We are already trying to mentor, we have targeted to mentor 50 plus organizations, schools, colleges, and universities. It is not possible for everyone to start an incubation center, but definitely with your effort and what we are planning, we would be able to reach you and kindly get in contact with us. We'll guide you. We'll try to, it's not guidance, we'll share our thought so that you can also participate in that and the benefit goes to the student. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right, wonderful. Yeah. Yes, any more observation? See, I have kept a slot for 5, but I have just received 2 till now.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I commented about this is this. First of all, acceptance is the key, I think. Whether you do whatever, so you have to accept you and yourself. Because once you don't accept yourself, that sometimes it is difficult to accept your failure also. So before enjoying or celebrating your failures, at least you should accept them. Then only you can learn and you can survive.
Absolutely. So acceptance of whatever you are doing, acceptance of failure is more important. It's not an interview where we go and we try to impress people. In a class, don't be in a world to over glorify you, larger than life. I have a couple of failures, but see, I am here. That doesn't work with students. Tell your drawbacks. Acceptance, what Praveen sir said, is absolutely correct. Acceptance of failure is very important. Do not say that I am failure because of that I was failure. Otherwise, I am the boss. Otherwise, I would have cracked that exam. But only because of I was not keeping well, I have failure. Because that is going to come back to your class, and a student being absent tomorrow will give you an excuse. My grandmother was unwell, that's why I am not coming to the class. So be transparent, be acceptive. So that's definitely one thing we would take as a take-home message. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And another, I would like to comment that definitely criteria of success is different for every people. So personally, I don't believe in successfulness. I believe in meaningfulness. Every human being has some meaning in is their own life, and that if they live in present, then definitely their life will be meaningful, and they will definitely be inspiring for each and every individual. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. Completely agree to it. Any other comments?
Saptarshi sir,
Yeah.
one more thing I would like to add, that we as teachers and as parents should change our attitude when we are sending our child to school or colleges. We are sending them that the purpose of education is to get a job. Okay, we should change our mindset and we should say that you are going for gaining knowledge and not for getting a job. Okay, that should be changed. The mindset should be changed, even of the teacher and of the parents also.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you would see that most of the colleges and universities will give an ad that my student has been placed here with a CTC of this. That do not define success. That do not define anything. Some person has, based on his individual capability or the organizational reputation, has got a good job. That's good. But that should not be the target of a student who is entering at semester 1. So often when during counseling before joining, if a student asks me, sir, what would be the package? What would be my expected salary? I normally say 0 to 1 lakh, 10 lakh. If you are capable of getting 0, you will get 0. It's up to your capability. And if you are capable of getting 10 lakh, you will get 10 lakh. Don't worry. But if you are capable of getting 0 and get 10 lakh, the next day be ready for getting fired. And that time, you will not get any help. So take more time, give more time in creating yourself rather than going to the destination of being placed by a company through your career cells or job cells in your institute. Can I get means how many of your organizations are having a functional incubation or entrepreneurship cell? Any of your organizations are having such? Most of your organizations, I'm not sure.
So if I talk about Chandigarh region, then in Chandigarh region, there are Chandigarh University, Punjab University, Rayat Bahara, Chitkara, even the PEC, IMTech, these all have their incubation center. Even at ISER Mohali, they have their TBI funded by DST as well. So I think at IIT Ropar also they are trying to start.
So whether you have a dedicated incubation center or not, let us commit that we people who are there in the FDP will handhold each other. Wherever it is possible, maybe some of the organization in the northern part of the country will have an incubator. We will have 5 people aligned with him who can guide them, who can be a mentor institute, and the others can be a mentor institute. We can have activities pan-India level. 10 institutes from India coming together and holding an hackathon. That would itself be a good advertisement to your work, because at the end of the day, you are committed to students. And a student from Bangalore, a student from Bengal, a student from Rajkot, or a student from Mohali competing with one another in a single platform, which is not created by others, which is a self-created, self-evolved platform with mutual benefit, with mutual handholding. I think that is what we all should look forward. That will give them a pan-India application level idea for those ventures and their knowledge and as well as skill. Maybe it is trivial. Maybe that enterprise is only for social sector. Maybe it is a very small thing, a pen. Maybe it is a water filter. Maybe it is something very trivial. But let it get a market throughout the country. Let it be judged by knowledge. Let it be judged by application. Let it be judged by skill. And if we are able to come up with 5 such products and 5 companies are set with our mutual collaboration, wherever it is required, we'll take the intervention of technology people. Wherever is required, we'll take the intervention of management people. I think then it will be the success of entrepreneurship development, because whatever we speak, only it has to be transformed into our student through our culture. Can we have any last comments from anyone present in the FDP presently? Okay, just let me share the session details. I think that is already shared through mail and WhatsApp group. Tomorrow we are having back-to-back sessions. The first session will be handled by Dr. Amolish Mukhopadhyay, who is and retired scientist, GST, Government of India. And he will be speaking on the government initiatives towards innovation and enterprise. The second talk will be by Dr. Puran Singh from IIT Mandi. And the third speaker is a training personnel. He will be dealing a session on training need assessment being of an entrepreneur. So coming to the conclusion of the session today, ask your students to try something new and teach your student to deal with failure. This will be the take-home message from my part. And I would like to end the session by speaking a few words by Jack Ma, a famous entrepreneur, business tycoon, and philanthropist, who said, "Today is difficult for those who want to be successful. Tomorrow is more difficult for those who want to be successful. Day after tomorrow is beautiful when you achieve success. But unfortunately for most of the people will die tomorrow evening without getting the flavor of success because they don't wait for the day after tomorrow." With these words, I thank everyone. And I say these all are the topics that will be dealt at various parts of the FDP, role of incubators, government initiatives, MSME support available for startups, training requirement, financial institutions in funding startup, and preparation of startup projects will be dealt in the coming 15 days. Thank you very much. And I pay my sincere gratitude to all of you for attending the session and making it an interactive way. A small announcement. A questionnaire link will be shared tomorrow. Today, there is no questionnaire link being shared. Tomorrow onwards, every day, there will be a questionnaire link shared in the chat box at the end of the session, and it is mandatory to attend those questionnaire sessions. Another thing, the recording of these sessions will be placed in YouTube so that you can refer it later also. If you do not have any other queries, we will end today's session. Thank you, everyone. With your permission, I am closing the session. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock sharp, we'll meet for the session by Dr. Amalesh Mukhopadhyay on government initiatives towards innovation and enterprise development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For your motivational talk.